If you truly believe what is being said on this radio program is true, then clearly you have some sort of problem with your brain, or more importantly, lack thereof. Now, ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the man who's not afraid to tell of the big foreign cabals, the man who rails against what he sees as the un-Australian way of our great land Australia, the man who's not afraid to tell the truth that the people secretly want to hear but are too scared to say. Ladies and gentlemen, Lug Nut.
Yes, thank you very much and welcome to the show. Lug Nut here. Fellow Australian freedom fighters, I'd like to show you something on air. I'm going to unzip this bag. The bag is absolutely empty. There's not a scrap in it. And so are our supermarkets. The reason our supermarkets are empty can be explained by the visual confirmation of a secret foreign cabal of ships taking our items away for foreigners. I got a letter last night, or an email more importantly, from a man named Dazza. Dazza lives near the docks at Port Melbourne. He says he has seen, quote, a huge shitload of ships off the docks, loading up every single thing you could think of from supermarket shelves. He says in the 3 minutes he was watching before being chased away by a secret cabal spy boat, he saw 53,000 cans of Pepsi, 182,000 boxes of mints, 59,000 blocks of caramel, and a million other things besides. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what Lug Nut's been going on about for the last few years. The absolute taking over of Australian values by foreigners. Now they're hitting the supermarket shelves. I have a little shelf in front of me with all my radio equipment. So far, there's only one single thing on that little shelf, a little mixer I use just to regulate the levels of my rather loud voice in the microphones. That's the only thing on the shelf. I wish I could say the same thing for the supermarket. The supermarkets are completely empty, and let me tell you why. Because un-Australian influences are having a toll. First, the un-Australian coronavirus. I would have said that an Australian virus probably wouldn't discriminate against Australian supermarkets. However, I'd be completely dead set wrong. The foreign takeover of supermarkets, ladies and gentlemen, is now reaching a crucial phase. I have no doubt that whilst we are sitting here without mints and other things at the shelves that we took for granted before this nasty pandemic, I have no doubt that some un-Australian foreigner is now chowing down on a big fat Australian juicy hot dog, maybe a big fat Angus beef burger. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my opponents and politically correct individuals might think that I'm absolutely off my tree. They've said it in the past when I talked about foreign cabals and the trade network. They said I was completely wrong when I talked about the robots taking over Play School and corrupting our children with non-Australian ideas. But ladies and gentlemen, let's just look at the facts. The shelves are completely empty. The shelves have been empty for some time, and they're probably going to be empty for a bit more. And let me tell you why. Looking at the Chinese influence in the country, you notice the Chinese actually have started liking caramel chocolate blocks. Looking on their social media service controlled by the communist cabal, it can be stated that they truly do love caramel. And caramel is one of the things that's been going missing from Australian shelves. Also, where on earth is the 2-star mints? I have magpies at home that I feed. Good Aussie Australian magpies. And let me tell you, they're really starting to get a serious case of the shits. There's been no 2-star mints for quite some time. And I'm not quite willing to go down the 1-star Aussie mints route quite yet. People might think I'm a lug. They call me a lug, but my name is actually Lug Nut. My parents called me Lug Nut because they said from my earliest days, as soon as I popped my head out from my mother's vagina, I was already starting to talk about the un-Australian nature of the nursing system. Her name was Edith Richardson, and she was from Norfolk in the UK. Norfolk is not Australian. Norfolk is from the UK, and when I pointed this out to her, she slapped my ass and I no doubt cried. That's the only memory I have from that rather traumatic time, but I realised then from the moment I was born that Australian values were already going. And this was back in 1950. It's now 2022, my calendar hasn't quite updated yet, and we're still struggling with the same kind of thing. I think it might be time for people to go down and give a little knock on the supermarket door and just ask where the Australian supermarket has gone. We look like a Tesco's in the UK. No doubt they're probably empty as well. I don't know. I've never left Australia because the things that I love are purely Australian. I don't need any foreign influence or foreign muck. I don't need to go to Paris and eat fragua or snail or whatever on earth they eat. And whilst we're on the subject of snails, I saw a French restaurant in Melbourne the other day. It's pretty bad when we have to have fresh French restaurants in Australia. Why can't we have restaurants just selling the old meat and veg kind of line? Well, anyway, they were selling snails. I asked the proprietor if the snails were Australian. He said that, well, in fact, were not. They were imported from France. Again, I have no doubt, by the secret foreign cabal. Now, getting back to the docks. The only things that are not being touched is produce. This is because foreigners don't like Australian produce. And that's totally fine by me, even though it's disadvantaging the farmers. But no doubt the farmers aren't secretly Australian. They probably are not Australian. Who knows? There's a lot of people in Parliament right now that say they're Australian but are clearly not. Even people with Australian-sounding names. Daniel Andrews, I've been reliably informed by someone, is actually named Daniel Andranovic. He's secretly a Serbian, posing as an Australian. This is just getting out of hand. Anthony Albanese, the Labour leader, is secretly Anthony Albanese. He's another Croat, pretending to be an Australian. I've been reliably informed by my good source, who's been one of my best sources for a number of years now on this topic. Now, Lugnut needs to take a radio break. He needs to have a break because his neck's sore, his arms are sore, and his heart's sore with the lack of Australian progress. Lugnut's not afraid to tell you like it is. Lug signing off.